All right, everybody. I think you're going to like this man. I like him already. His name is Brent Bowers, and he is going to be talking to us about investing in land and making money from land. And he's a family man. He's a former military and father, right? And he said he's got a big old dog too, and he's down in Florida where we were just joking, where there are some big old bugs down there because it doesn't get cold enough. So we went from Florida to Colorado. Now back to Florida. Brent, welcome to Living Well with Rentwell.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about land to all the rental guys. Cool.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of people watching this have probably not invested yet in land, but maybe they're curious about it. So we're going to go there today. Give us the Reader's Digest version, Brent, about who you are. What is it that you do?
Yeah, so I started in 2007. I bought that first rental property, and I know we're probably going to get into that first deal. I had just gotten my real estate license because I thought I'd be a better investor if I had a license. And then 2008 and 2009 happened for me. And I was like, man, I need something to do because I can't afford to pay my rent anymore. So I had to move in with my in-laws, and I was married at the time to my first wife. And it's just like I was being humbled. I went from a business owner to getting a real estate license to buying a rental to basically homeless in a few short months. So I joined the military because I wanted to go back to school to reset my life. Did a couple deployments, took a little break from real estate, and got back involved in it in 2013. I wholesaled a few I wholesaled a few properties and bought a couple more rentals, and then found land. And I can talk to you guys more about that and how we built that into a scalable, sellable cash cow that everyone is ignoring.
Okay. So we, I'll tell you what, I'm ignoring it, and I've invested in a lot of different things, and it's not on my radar. There's one deal that I've come across that was very close on. It was an infill lot outside of Philadelphia. But let's go back for any listeners that are curious. I love how you reframed 2008 and 2009 happened for you. Yeah. What have you gone back in and looked and said, this is what happened? Like, what was it there? You had the property. Like, what happened with the first property?
Yeah, that first property, I rented it out to a tenant, and it was actually, she was a traveling nurse. Eventually I had to evict her, and she trashed the whole property, which is crazy how things went. But that first property, I kept it from 2007 to 2000 and end of 2019. Then I sold it for a whopping $1 profit. And it was just one of those things where I look at that, and all those years I was able to, cost segregate it or depreciate it. Really, it saved me on my taxes, but I never made a profit ever from it. I was actually the whole time I had it, I was in the negative because things always break, or was always breaking on that property. And I was really only making about $200 a month over the mortgage payment. And when I say happened for me was, it was a tough time in real estate. And I looked at a lot of people failing, and I was watching the news, and it got between my two ears that I wasn't going to make it either. When you move in with your in-laws and you start like not able to pay your bills, and like, it's amazing. Like, you start really just doubting yourself and everything you do because other people are quitting. So I too got on that train of being a big quitter. And I look back at those years, it's like, man, that's like, if I would have just kept going, what would have happened? But I changed directions. I shifted, not in the real estate industry, but it kind of gave me like a foundation to build on. Cause we see people get on these podcasts and they just talk about all the cool things they're doing. So I want to talk about a lot of the failures I had for many, many years. Like, people think it's like, why am I not just hitting the ground running in real estate? Why is this taking so long? Well, I say it took me from 2007 to 2013 to finally start getting, some success. Like, doctors and lawyers, they go to school for a very long time to make the money they make. And we think that we can take a couple of seminars and start, strike it rich in the first couple of years of real estate or business. It's not like that. We hear about these overnight successes. There's no such thing. They worked in their basement or their mom's basement or their in-laws' basement for many, many years to get there. So that's why I say it happened for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And to give the comparison,
Yeah.
what types of opportunities and investments are you pursuing now? We're going now. Now we're going to fast forward, 15 years?
Yeah. So I was searching for answers. So fast forward to 2015. I had met my new wife, my current wife now, and we got married and we started having babies really quickly. And when that first baby came out in January 2016, his name is Zach, I was like, I cannot continue on this path because I was in the military. My first 4 years in the military, I was really only home about one of those years. I mean, really, that's why that first marriage failed, because I was never home. It's almost darn near impossible to keep a good marriage going when you're never there. So I saw that baby come out, and I was like, I was all gung ho for the military. I just went from enlisted to officer, that the military paid me to go to school. All these amazing things was happening, and I was excelling quickly, but I was preparing for my third combat deployment. And what people know is like you're gone for like 9 months or a year, but they don't talk about that year prior train up. You're always away from your family for about a year prior to leaving your family for 9, 10, 11, 12 months. So I moved my wife and my son, and she's pregnant. My wife's pregnant again with our second baby. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I cannot sustain this. I need to search for answers. So I was kind of haphazardly wholesaling houses. What I mean by that, I get them under contract and assign the contract. But here's the thing that they don't mention when they say wholesaling real estate, like you don't need any money or any credit or any time. Those are 3 lies. You need a lot of time to go meet sellers. You need money to send the postcards out. I was spending a fortune. I was racking up debt on my credit card. So no money, no time, no credit. I guess the credit might be true, but you got to have credit cards, right? So I was building up all this debt. And I had done 1 or 2 house deals out in Colorado, but I was searching for answers, just like this podcast, the Living Well with Brent Well podcast, amazing podcast out there. And I heard a guy talking about land he was flipping overnight. He would go to the tax auctions, buy this land, and then double his money the next day when he would sell them. And I was like, I don't know anything about going to tax auctions, but I know there's a lot of landowners behind on their taxes. And I know I can mail them a postcard. So I started mailing tax delinquent landowners like that day a postcard that said, hey, my name's Brent. I'd like to buy your land. If you're interested in a fair cash offer and I can close quick, call me or text me. God bless you. And my phone started ringing. And I did that first land deal, bought it for $285, flipped it to a realtor literally that same week for $5,000. And then bought a second one for $500. And this was like non-buildable, landlocked, garbage land. And these sellers were calling like, yeah, it's yours for this much. Like, they gave me the price. It's the easiest thing I ever did. That second parcel of land, I sold it for $500 down. I paid $500. I sold it for $500 down and $400 a month. I had no clue what seller financing was. I just thought that the land wasn't that good and maybe someone would pay me payments on it. But that's what changed my life, because at $400 a month, that was paying my truck payment. None of my rentals were cash flowing, but that land deal was cash flowing within 30 days. And now I do even better job. I try and get it profitable from day one and forever.
So let's dive into that.
All right.
That deal. What state was it in? How large was it? Like, help the listeners like visualize, what does that land look like? How does that get structured? Where is it's you've created an arbitrage situation where it's worth one thing to you and then another thing to the market.
Yeah, one man's trash can absolutely be another man's treasure. And this could work with bicycles. You find a free bicycle on the side of the road, you air the tires up and sell it for more.
You can.
But basically, the state that both of these deals were in, the first one that I bought for $285 and flipped it for $5,000, it was worth way more than $5,000, by the way. The realtor sold it for like $15,000, a couple years later, which is awesome. I'm glad she made money on it. That was in Palmer Lake, Colorado. The second parcel that I bought for $500 was in Colorado Springs, Colorado, just south of NORAD, 4.97 acres. I remember it's like it was yesterday, landlocked by the state park, by the Colorado State Park. I had to trespass against state land to go get the photos. Because how do I know I was trespassing? Because the state officer asked me what I was doing, and I was like, I'm taking photos of the land that I'm actually in the process of buying. He goes, well, you're trespassing. You can't come back across this way. And I was like, well, how do I get to the land? He goes, I don't know. Like, it's, we're surrounding the land and you got to figure it out. So I was like, well, I have no clue how to figure that out, but I put it on Craigslist, landlocked. You need to call an attorney that can get you ingress, egress. And I'm asking for $500 down because I wanted to get my money back out of the land deal because I was broke in 2016. We just had that first baby. We just moved across the country with the military. And I didn't want to tell my wife. I was like, we made the 5,000, but I just bought another parcel of land for 500 because she was like, that's pretty cool. Keep flipping those. So that was also in Colorado Springs. But that buyer, I didn't charge him an interest rate because I didn't even think to do it. I didn't charge him a doc fee. We charge roughly $300 every time we do a deed now, our contract for deed, our doc fee. And I didn't charge him a monthly note service fee. We charge $25 a month for that now. So all these little things like that we evolved into, that's built a land business now that we have 69 of these notes coming in every single month where land buyers purchase from us. And we collect on average about $22,000 a month in payments. That's if we don't add any more. That's if we don't flip any land. And that's if we don't assign the contract on any land. Now, it's evolved to bigger deals because the big ones take just as much time as those little small ones. And there's more money available.
What did the end buyer of the landlocked land?
Yeah.
That's almost 5 acres. That's surrounded by state park.
Yep.
State forest.
Yep.
I'm not sure the terminology there.
Yeah.
What are they doing with it? I'm
so
thinking hunting.
What his plan? You're exactly right. What his plan? He wanted a place to go turkey hunting.
Okay.
And he didn't care about ingress, egress. Like, he probably doesn't know what that means. He might. I don't know. Okay. I pretended to know at the time because some attorney or some real estate agent said, yeah, contact that attorney. And I heard attorney. I'm thinking to myself, that's like, those guys cost like $400 an hour. I don't have money to pay these attorneys. Let someone else figure that out. So yeah, he was using it for hunting and he paid it off early, 0% interest. I was like, what the heck?
Love that, man. All right. So when you didn't know what the end was, you just, because I guess the challenge there, the risk that I think of when I think on land, because a lot of banks won't lend on land.
They don't lend on it.
They don't lend. Oh, right. So that naturally is going to depress the value of something if you can't go with traditional financing and the reason they don't lend on it is because it's not generating any income unless you get creative, like a farmer, like a hunter, like, I'm sure of a lot of other, ways and means to do this. So good for you. So that was $500 down, $400 a month. You paid it off early.
Yep.
You're moving on.
Yeah. And the third deal actually came from a bank. I got it under contract for $25,000. It was 44 acres next to Schriever Air Force Base in Colorado Springs. And I had no clue what it was worth. I just knew it was worth a lot more than like 80 or 90,000. So I got that under contract with the bank. The bank took it back via foreclosure because they actually did. After we just said banks don't lend on land, they actually lent on this one, which not too many banks do. It's a very small, like, community bank, basically. Yep. I won't say the name on the podcast, but I offered 20. I wanted it for 20 because I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I had no clue what it was worth. I didn't know how to price this land. I just knew, like, if I look on Zillow and Redfin, I could see, like, okay, they're selling for a little bit more. So the bank's like, look, Friday afternoon, Brent, it's yours for $25,000. If you don't take it today, like, we're moving on. Like, I was like, okay, I'll sign it. Like, I re-edited the contract, sent it back. It was a signable purchase agreement, an assignable contract. I can sell that contract. I didn't sleep that night because I was like, I don't have $25,000. This bank's going to sue me if I don't come up with the money. So I ended up going to work the next day, Saturday morning. I went and got a bunch of bandit signs. Like, you see them, like, we buy houses for cash, like those yellow signs. Yes. Well, I wrote on the back of those with a big black Sharpie marker that said 44 acres, 38K, cash only, my phone number. And it took me like 45 minutes to write on all those. And I put nails in the sign, and I had the stakes on them. And I went out all around that land and I just did circles. I put out 33 of those. the first call was like, you better get this sign off my land, blah, blah, blah.
I've gotten those calls before. Yeah, those are fun.
So second one came in and I was bracing for impact. It was a buyer. He's like, hey, we've been driving all over the place and we see these signs popping up everywhere. We sold our ranch a couple of weeks ago in Texas. We're looking for land in Colorado. Where are you? And I was like, well, I'm actually like 15 minutes away from there. You want to meet on the land? I said, yeah. So we met right in front of the land. We didn't even walk on it. I never stepped foot on the land. And we shook hands right there. He said, I'll take it. So I had it under contract for $25,000. This guy agreed to pay $38,000. So I'm going to make the difference between 38 and 25. What's that, like 13,000? And the next day I was going to the field with the Army and I got a call. And the guy's like, I'll pay you way more than 38,000. Actually 14,000 over that. So I was like, I had a dilemma. I was like, well, let me call this Texan back. And I said, hey, I really feel bad, but I have a higher offer. I know we shook hands and all and agreed. I feel terrible doing this, but what if we just split that 14,000 higher? Then I just got a higher offer. I'll give you $7,000 for just meet me on the side of the road just to make things right. And he was like, absolutely not. We had an agreement. And I was like, oh man, okay, let's just go with our agreements. Cause I mean, the extra money back in 2016 would have changed my life. Sure. I'm so glad I kept my word back then, but because it's just turned into so many more, 13,000, nothing now compared to the deals we've done. I just got one for 130,000 that someone sent me. We can sell it for about $1 million because all we have to do is just a simple subdivide. And I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to sell it to a builder that's going to do that.
Yeah. Did the bank find you or did you find the bank?
Remember those postcards I sent? I sent out 687 postcards to the tax delinquent list. And the bank called me and said, hey, we got your postcard. If you're serious, what's your offer? And I looked at it and I was like, I called them back. I was like, can I please call you back? Like I was like pulling away because I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, can I call you back? So I called them back and said, I can pay $20,000 for it. Yeah. And I was really pulling out of thin air because I was like, I knew it was worth a little bit more than 80 or so. So I was like, all right, if I do a 4X, 20, 40, 60, 80, I know I'm guaranteed to make money. But yeah, they got my postcard and called.
So when I'm looking at, we buy apartment buildings that need love. And sometimes we can redevelop them to add apartments. And sometimes there's one that we just settled on last week. It looks like by right, there's enough land and parking and impervious left that we can build on it.
Yeah.
But I'm not figuring that out, right? I'm going to hire my architect. I'll pay some money, send it to them, get a report back. That's what comes to mind on these land deals that you're talking about. And you have a coaching program that helps, I'm assuming, with all aspects of this process. But how much early on, when I've come across land deals, I've gotten very nervous because I'm like, if they're offering it for so cheap, there's probably environmental, or there's a watershed, or there's just no egress. So I feel like it could be the same thing. Like when people overbuy for a house or a rental, when I look at those rentals, I see, man, that roof is old, that heater is old. I know in this town, the sewer pipes are terracotta and they're known to go. And like, it can become, in a way, analysis paralysis.
Yeah.
I feel like this almost helped you get into this model because you didn't know what you didn't know. And hey, this one is a hunter. That one's this guy from Texas. And you're building up this experience. And experience is what you get just after you needed it. So walk us through, right, on how much due diligence are you able to do in-house? How much are you subbing out? How much is done by your team? Like, what does all that look like in terms of the due diligence on these properties?
Yeah, we keep the due diligence pretty simple. And I actually have a document that it's, if you go to the landsharks.com/DD as in due diligence, there's like 14 items on there that my team does. For the longest time, I had my virtual assistant in the Philippines do most of it. But things like, what's the access look like? Is it a road? Is it a dirt road? Is it a grass road? Going to places like Land Glide and seeing what it looks like. MapRight is another great tool that land investors use. I call a land specialist realtor to go and walk the land before we buy it. But here's the thing. Let me tell you my number one due diligence item is you've got to get it for low enough that you're guaranteed to make money, the margin of safety, the buffer zone. And so I'm getting such a discount where it might need a road, or it might, you might be a block away from the sewer line. But here's the thing, like, so many people are worried and analysis paralysis. What if I get stuck with this land? What if I can't get my money back out of it? Well, God's not making any more land. You can always build on it. You can always farm it. You can always do something on it. It's tangible. Like, people that invest in the stock market, they're crazy. They're wild animals to me. People that buy Bitcoin, they're wild animals to me, because I can't touch it. Like land, I can do something with it. But going back to my number one thing, like, what if I get stuck with it? What if I can't sell it? What if I don't get my money back? What if you had your buyer lined up ahead of time before you purchase the land? Because these sellers of most of this land, the landowners that I work with, they're motivated. They're motivated for so many reasons. They inherited it. They've never stepped foot on it. They're in another state. They're behind on their taxes. They're unemotional. It's not like a house that someone raised their family in for 18 years, never replaced the carpet, never fixed the roof, never painted it. But we're always told our houses are our biggest investments. What do investments do? They're supposed to go up, right? You pay this much, you're supposed to get this much later. But they're not told that with their land. They're so unemotional about it. So they're willing to let it go. Or a lot of times, like, they don't care. Like, my sister-in-law literally just inherited a piece of land, and she's aggravated.
It's an expense. It's a liability to her.
Yeah, she's so mad about it because it's going through probate. The attorney missed the other 5 acres. She's like, my mom's just getting me one more time from the grave. I was like, oh my God. Like, that's like, I'm not buying the land from her. It's like, I'm keeping that family thing separate.
So there's a deal for somebody in the program already.
Oh, trust me. I gave one of my sharks her number.
One of the sharks. So that was thelandsharks.com/due diligence. You have your system set up. There's the 14 item due diligence. You put in your name, you put in your email address, and we'll get that list. And thank you for answering that question, Brent.
My pleasure.
So what type so we've covered the first few deals where you bought the one rental, you later sold it, you made that dollar. We both are having some foundation challenges right now on our single family houses. Yours is in, I think, Colorado, right? Mine's in Westchester. Okay. So now, and then you've covered a few of those deals that you've done. What's the level that you're operating at right now?
Yeah, I have a very small team. I have my one acquisition manager. I have an executive assistant. I have an in-house accountant. Now, you don't need an in-house accountant. It almost gives me, it boosts my ego to say that. No, I'm just kidding. I actually used to have an outsourced bookkeeping firm, and they cost me like a bunch of money in taxes. So I was like, I'm going to control this process a lot better. But my team is super small. At one time I had roughly about 12 team members, and I was going crazy. Like, I was getting aggravated and stressed, and I was turning into a maniac. I haven't had a real job since 2018. I got out of the military in 2018 because I was making enough money in land payments every month to like quadruple my income. And what do we do? It's called Parkinson's law. The task will expand with the time that we have. So what did I do? I'm like listening to these podcasts and going to these masterminds. Everyone's like, scale. And I'm like, I got to scale. So I just started doing all these land deals, and I was doing land deals just to pay my team. And about a year ago, I was like, you know what? Like, I didn't get into this business to scale and to get rich and become a multimillionaire. I got into the business to have breakfast with my children, have dinner with my family, be there for, field trips and things like that, which we're just now getting into with my first grader. But so I've kind of compressed a little bit. We just took almost the whole month of March off. We're taking a 6-week vacation in Costa Rica that I'm bringing my mom and my 3 kids to, and my wife. So we're just kind of just enjoying life and, giving back. We've got some children we're feeding and taking care of in Africa, and just like all these things. Like the reason why I got into this business.
Love it. So how many deals did you said that 69 notes
Yeah.
is what that's the recurring revenue basically
Yeah,
that you've
that's what we're getting
developed.
payments on. So just to further explain that, we've currently got 69 parcels of land paying us every single month. So I'm basically paid several times a day. Some days we get 3 or 4 payments that come in. How many deals total? 351 land deals total. A lot of those were a signing of contract or flipping them. I'm looking at my board. It's like behind the computer. We're buying 11 lots in Hawaii right now. We're buying 2 in Florida this week. And those will be just flip parcels. The 11 lots in Hawaii, we're basically going to try and get our money back, and then we might sell or finance a few of them. But yeah, these deals are coming from our mailers that we send out just consistently. And now they're starting to come from referrals, which is really cool.
I like that he made the distinction, because one of the first thing for those that are looking to get into real estate, wholesaling is absolutely a route that a lot of people default to. And as you said, well, you don't need credit and income and a lot of time. And like, it couldn't be the opposite. It's besides maybe that credit one, but because to do it well, to do it right, it does take a lot of time. It does cost a lot in mailers and phone calls and text campaigns and softwares. And those bandit signs aren't free. And then you have to also know what to do when those phone rings. So how does the coaching work? What does the mastermind look like? And are you joint venturing on deals with students? Like, how do you, because what's intriguing to me is if you have this brand, right? This Brent Bowers, the Land Sharks, what I think is really smart is in my market now, I am brought in as a redevelopment partner because I'm such a specialist in these small multifamilies, from the water metering to the adding apartments to what to do with the garage to how to bring operating expenses down to all that. And people bring me deals and then we joint venture on them. But like, does it look like that? Like what, like, give us some details on the Land Sharks.
Yeah, quick answer. I do deals with the Sharks all the time. I lend on them. Sometimes other Sharks lend on the deals. I joint venture like that 11 parcels of land in Hawaii. I'm not mailing Hawaii, but one of my Sharks are, and basically I'm just bringing the funds. And then that deal, I had to bring in more funds. I didn't have all the funds. So I brought in actually the realtor that sold me my house in Florida, she has the funds. So she wanted to bring some in. But what the Land Sharks community looks like is we give you the steps, the exact steps to take. It's an action-driven course. It's like, hey, here's exactly how you pick a market where there's land deals right now. And here's where the demand's at. Here's exactly what's in demand. Here's how to get a list of those landowners to send your land offer letter. We call them LOLs, but we send an actual specific offer for that land deal. And we generate those. They consistently go out and they come back signed. Marketing is 2 things. 1, we want to attract, and 2, we want to detract. Like if someone wants a big bag of money for their land in Philly, like I don't want to talk to you. Like I don't want you calling my phone. Like I only want the deals. Like don't send me, like I'm not paying retail. I get so many people that will send me like, hey, here's a piece of land in this area. I'm like, what is it worth? What can I buy it for? Like, I want to know, like, because I'm not looking for paying big bags of money. So we show you all those steps. Then we do multiple support calls a week. We have the community. We have my assistant coach answering questions all day long. And what I'm loving about it, I didn't know this 2.5 years ago when I created this, is all the deals we're getting to do because like we're just networking. Like all these deals, like I just did 28 lots in on really close to the water in Pueblo, Colorado. Like, and I was mailing that area, but one of my Sharks found the lots and we split $22,000. We just assigned them to a builder, and that was another deal we got to do.
Yeah. God, there's so much to it, right? Because it's finding it, identifying the market, figuring out what those either assignment or novation contracts, or maybe you're going to take it down yourself. And yeah, I think that's great. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for people to expand their horizon and see what other opportunities are there. I just learned about novations last week, and the guy was super excited about it. And he has a program and he has his course identified, and like for a lot of the wholesalers there, it made a lot of sense. And it makes a lot of sense for us being in the property management space and just being in that real estate space. A lot of it can be just who you know. And now it's really important as to who knows you.
Yeah.
And getting your name out there and being a specialist in that field. So
yeah, it's amazing. And it's amazing what you can do. The power of this, like, you talked about arbitrage. I don't hear anybody talking about positive arbitrage. And I love it that you brought that up, Rob. It's like, we just bought a parcel of land for $40,000, and we had our buyer waiting for us to close on it because it took us about 6 months to buy it because the seller was going through probate. We helped her out with that. And we had our buyer waiting to buy it for $90,000, and he can only put $5,000 down. So my mother-in-law lent me the money, the $40,000 at 9%. We'll pay her off in 5 years. Our buyer will pay off in 13 and a half years. Like that one land deal that cost me no money out of my pocket is making my mother-in-law money. It helped the seller out. It helped the buyer out. And we're going to make about $102,000 on that one land deal over the 13 and a half years. Yeah. If he never pays off early or refinances. But if he does pay off early, like that's great. Velocity of money. I get my money back sooner, or I get my profit sooner, I should say. And my mother-in-law gets paid off sooner. Yeah. We'll use her money somewhere else, and she keeps earning 9% interest on it. There's so many, like my neighbor just told me he had $80,000. He wanted to make 9 to 12%. And I was like, brother, you got a deal. I'll secure it with a piece of land. We'll buy it for less than 50 cents on the dollar.
We just had Jay Connors on,
I love Jay.
Do you know? Okay.
I learned from him. That's like his private money lending program. And I love his accent, and like he changed my life. Like I'm doing deals with my neighbors. Like there's so much money that people leave under their mattress and in the stock market. It's crazy. Like,
yes. Well, that's great timing there. That's great timing because he literally, he's the episode right before yours. So that's a good shout out to Jay and his program. And so Brent, you mentioned about giving back. So you've, what came to mind was the TV commercials that show these children that are just malnourished. And so what does that look like for you? Why is that you choose to support that? Like,
yeah.
What do you do to give back, Butter?
I have a strong urge to help children, and especially in countries like, I just found the documentary yesterday. I was flying back, and I didn't want to read on the plane. So I was like, my wife bought the internet. So I was like, what kind of documentary can I find? So I found getting into Bill Gates' brain, and I was like, oh, this is really cool to see how Bill Gates thinks. And he's talking about just the basic things we have in the United States, like sewer systems and filtration of water. Like our water, like we get aggravated, builders, developers, like the land won't perk. We can't put a septic system there, or we're too far from the sewer lines. Like things like that we take for granted in the United States. Like other countries, like they're dumping their sewer right in the stream that they drink out of. And these kids are dying of just as things that our children never die from. And it's literally like from diarrhea, like they're dying. So things like that, just being able to send money to things like that. I found this community on Facebook, these children, this guy's got 12 children that he's taking care of, and he feeds them, he gets them medication. So I checked him out a little bit. I wanted to make sure the money was actually going to these children. Come to find out it is. We just look for little things like that. So
that's wonderful.
And if you look for those opportunities, they're going to come.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And then my last question, Brent, is how do you take care of you? You showed the book earlier, right? We were prepping for this in the Miracle Morning. Like, what does it look like for you? What is Brent taking care of? How do you take care of you, from meditation or prayer or church or exercise, or what are your practices?
So the morning rituals change, but I try and get up early. I try and beat my kids before they wake up, and my wife. So, get in the Bible time. It doesn't have to be much. It could be just some mornings I only have 5 minutes. Thank the Lord for my, just literally for us having sanitation and sewer and running water in our house, things like that. And then, I usually go to the gym shortly after we drop our children off. Sometimes me and my wife will split up. I'll drop 2 of them off. She'll drop 1 of them off, and I'll go to the gym. It's an automatic habit. Like, it's habit now. So the gym time is basically my time for, health and all that. And, try and drink green drinks and water. So just, we got to take care of the machines.
I love it, man. Is there anything else that you have to share with the audience?
No, just go out and take action. I mean, learn from, we don't have enough time to talk about all the mistakes I made, but I think that was the reason behind why I can have this life that I couldn't even dream up, back in 2009 was I just took dumb action. Like, I took imperfect action. It doesn't have to be massive, violent, and perfect action, but you could just need to build the small wins each day. That small win could be, just if you hear something on a podcast, you take the time when you pull over, write it down 30 seconds or less and implement it. Set a time on your calendar to implement. Like Tony Robbins talks about, never leave the scene of a goal without an action step, because we're motivated and we're fired up right now, but that motivation will go away.
Never play that back.
Time.
Never leave the scene of a goal without an action step.
Yeah, Tony Robbins says the scene of a goal, but I say the scene of inspiration. Really, like, if you hear anybody listening to this, you hear a podcast or a YouTube or something that inspires you, take the extra step to write it down and time block it in your calendar. Just give yourself an hour to actually implement it. Take that time, and that's why I get up early. What I didn't mention after the Bible time is I usually have something I'm working on that I want to spend 10 or 20 or maybe the next hour to work on it. And that compounds over a 7-day week or 21 days or multiple months. It's amazing what you could build in a very short amount of time. That's how I built my land business that got me out of the military, because I was running from a problem. I didn't want to leave anymore. I was preparing for combat deployment number 3.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here with us, my friend. I'm excited for you and your family to go to Costa Rica for those 6 weeks, and keep those deals going. Keep helping out everybody, the land shark community, and hopefully that grows for you and grows for them. And what's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to thelandsharks.com, schedule a call, fill out that form. If you want to change and start taking action, or just hit me up on Instagram, Brent L. Bowers.
Awesome. All right, Brent. Well, God bless, man. Thanks for being here with us, and we appreciate the insights into land.
God bless, Rob. Talk to you later.
Take care.
Thank you for listening to Living Well with Rentwell. We hope you loved that episode.
Please be sure to head over to our website at rentwell.com/vision. We're giving away our free program called Vision Through Purposeful Action. If you're a busy person, if you struggle with finding the time and priorities, or if you're experiencing procrastination and overwhelm, this free course will help you with that.
We wish you a blessed day. Thank you for tuning in, and check in later.